What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Around the Table Sports. Happy 4th of July. I wanted to do something a little bit different today and talk about the number one overall quarterback in the nation, Caleb Williams, as he is all set to make his college football commitment today. And it's between three schools, OU, Maryland, and LSU. Now, I believe, like 24/7 Sports, that OU is probably the one that's going to land Caleb Williams. When I watch him play, I think that they are the one college that can really take him where he is now and turn him into something that is just terrifying. And I'll explain what I mean when I say that. And I kind of wanted to get into that right now. And it will kind of shape why I believe 24/7 Sports have him as a favorite to OU. And I even have some disagreements with 24/7 Sports as to some of his analysis. So 24/7 Sports has Caleb Williams comped to Russell Wilson, and I don't see that. To me, when I watch Caleb Williams play, he looks exactly like Jalen Hurts coming out of Texas a few years ago. Now, I think that he has all the ability to be better than Jalen Hurts. I think he's a little bit more proficient passing than Jalen Hurts, but also I think we need to be very realistic about where he is as a passer, and I think the Elite 11 camp, even though he won MVP, kind of showed that. Now, we heard from Trent Dilfer that the Elite 11 MVP is 75% based off of your film coming into that camp, so your junior season film. Well, that film got Caleb Williams as the number 4 overall player in the nation, number 1 overall quarterback in the nation, so of course his film was going to be evaluated better than others around him. But from what I've heard, there were other quarterbacks at the Elite 11 that outperformed him passing the ball. And if you look at his high school stats, it kind of says more of the same. His freshman year, he was a 59% complete passing, and that's actually very good for a freshman. But his sophomore year, he went down to 52%. His junior year, he was a 55% passer. And that's where I'm kind of hesitant on the Russell Wilson comparison, and I see much more Jalen Hurts, because Russell Wilson was more proficient throwing the ball, and I think Caleb Williams can get there. I mean, if you watch him throw the ball from his mechanics, his release, his footwork, and his arm strength, most of all, he has all of the tools. But the highest QB rating he's ever posted was a 105.1. And that's very good, but to put that in perspective of last year's number 1 overall quarterback, Bryce Young posted a 141.6. And Bryce Young threw for more yards in his junior season alone at Mater Day than Caleb Williams has thrown all 3 years playing high school football. And I understand there was a bit of an injury or something this past year, and Max Preps lists that he only played in 4 games. And I understand that Bryce Young played at Mater Day. I know people are going to tell me, well, Bryce Young had a better supporting cast. Well, Bryce Young didn't play for Mater Day when he was a sophomore. And Bryce Young's sophomore year, he threw for 3,431 yards. Caleb Williams, throughout his high school career, has thrown for 3,709. So when we're talking passing proficiency, Caleb Williams is an incredible arm talent, but as to this point has yet to display consistent passing efficiency throughout a whole season. And I'm not saying that I don't think that he is going to be worthy of a 5-star quarterback or that he won't be a great college football quarterback, because he absolutely will. I'm saying all of this because I think it's important. I think a lot of people just look at the number 1 overall quarterback ranking and don't really look at the details and the devil within the details, watch them play. And I think that OU, what they've been doing with quarterbacks over the last few years, if there was a place in college football that could take Caleb Williams from being the run-first type quarterback that he is now into being more of a Russell Wilson type player, it is Lincoln Riley and OU. In fact, I think that LSU was probably the most likely when they had Joe Brady. Joe Brady came from the Saints and completely revamped that LSU offense. Let's not forget, in 2018, Joe Burrow looked like a deer in the headlights throughout most of the year, and that LSU offense was a snore fest. When it got to 2019, the only thing that changed was Joe Brady. All of a sudden, Joe Burrow is a world beater, and that LSU offense can't be stopped. Now, I'm not saying Joe Burrow didn't have it in him all along. I'm just saying that throughout Joe Burrow's consistent college career, which was mediocre, the only thing that ever changed that elevated him and an entire offense that was just stagnant for years into a new era and a new level of just efficient and great, it was Joe Brady. And Joe Brady is no longer there. And while sure, I've had plenty of people tell me, oh, but he left the keys to the Ferrari there. Yeah, but he took the Ferrari with him is the problem. He was the one who had a deep understanding of that passing game. And that deep understanding can't just be put off on somebody within 1 year. If that was the case, Bama would still be running all of Lane Kiffin's stuff, but Lane isn't there anymore. They have to rely on somebody else that understands their own game. You will never be successful trying to copy somebody else. And LSU, when they lost Joe Brady, I was very interested to see who they were going to hire to replace him. And I think they're hiring, and, knock on wood for LSU, I hope it works out. But I think who they hired is actually going to shoot them in the foot as far as quarterbacks who are interested in going to the NFL. They hired Scott Linehan, who was the former offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. For those of you that watch NFL football, you will remember that when Scott Linehan was the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, he was heralded as possibly the worst, most boring, no creativity, predictable offensive coordinator in all of the NFL. And that is incredibly odd to me because that's exactly what LSU just came from. And that's exactly what former LSU players have been begging them to get away from, because they ran an offense that was so predictable that SEC teams knew it was coming. Now, the flip side of that is LSU is so talented, the question became, could you stop them? But for any team that had the talent to match LSU, as long as they watched film, you kind of had an understanding of what was going to come to you. Joe Brady gets there, changes everything. But now that Joe Brady isn't there, I don't think Scott Linehan is exactly a good grab for being a high school quarterback and wanting to get to the NFL. I think that when you hire a guy like that, these high school quarterbacks are going to look at that and say, well, he had Dak Prescott not looking very good. He had all NFL analysts all across any ESPN, Fox Sport, NFL network, all saying how this was the worst run offense in the NFL. How it was so predictable that Luke Kuechly, when the Dallas Cowboys played the Carolina Panthers, was able to predict plays happening because he said after the game, it's the same thing Scott Linehan runs all the time. He's not creative. And sure, Luke Kuechly didn't say that Scott Linehan wasn't creative, but that's what he was getting at, is that it was so boring, so basic, that just by looking at the play, he was able to say, okay, well, this is a screen pass, this is a run to the left, this is a run to the right. Same old Scott Linehan. When they did that, I thought LSU was completely out of the running, and they could surprise me because LSU does have enough clout and enough allure to get top recruits there. And he will be just fine at LSU, but I don't think he will be the quarterback that OU will turn him into, and that moves me on to Maryland. While I think that Loxley actually could develop Caleb Williams into a better passer, a more proficient passer, I think that Maryland is building something. For those of you that remember my Tualia transfer video, I'm pretty high on where Maryland is going with Mike Loxley. It's early to tell, but I think that they will see good results. That's the exact same reason I actually don't think Caleb Williams is going there, and it has nothing to do with Tualia. It has everything to do with Lincoln Riley is the most proven, with quarterbacks out of all three of these programs. Ed Ogeron, sure, he had arguably a quarterback with the greatest college quarterback season of all time, who the year before was mediocre at best, who wasn't a starter at Ohio State, and the only time he ever played top-tier college football is when he had Joe Brady. And now Joe Brady's not there anymore. And now LSU hired a guy who is considered the Stone Age of play calling in the NFL. Scott Linehan is their passing game coordinator. I don't see where that's a attractive sell for these high school prospects. They watched what Scott Linehan did in the NFL, and it didn't work. And they saw where LSU was before they got Joe Brady, and it didn't work against these top-tier programs. So because of that, I think OU is the overwhelming favorite. I think that they are the team to take Caleb Williams from where he is now and to develop him into something that is just terrifying for the rest of college football. And I understand that a lot of people are saying, but OU has Spencer Rattler. Caleb Williams might have to sit a year. Is he going to want to do that? While he may not want to, I think that's the best thing for him. And I'm going to reiterate this one more time. The number one overall quarterback up to his senior season has 3,709 yards passing, averaging a 55% completion ratio. Bryce Young finished his high school career with 13,250 yards, a 69.8% completion ratio, and was throwing touchdowns left and right. And it's not like Bryce Young was throwing more interceptions either. I mean, his sophomore year, he threw 3. The most interceptions he ever threw was 6. Caleb Williams has thrown 3, 4, and 2, so Caleb Williams doesn't turn the ball over. Caleb Williams also attempted 170 passes his sophomore year as compared to Bryce Young's 379 at a 69.7 completion percentage, which is absolutely insane. And I'm not trying to compare these two quarterbacks. They're different stylistically, but Bryce Young was the number 1 dual threat quarterback in the nation as well, just like Caleb Williams is the number 1 dual threat quarterback in the nation. And it's because of this disparity in stats and this disparity in what they do. I think Caleb Williams does it out of necessity, meaning I think his high school team isn't good enough to get them where they're going unless he is completely taking over. And I think he's going to be a much better passer than the numbers say. But I think in order for all of that to happen and for him to hit his ceiling, it's got to be with Lincoln Riley and OU. And that terrifies me. But I think that by the end of the day, we will see that the number 1 overall quarterback in the nation commits to OU. Well, that's about it today. Y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. And we'll see you around here soon. Thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see more content we have planned.